Today I was reading in Luke chapter 6, and there's this story of Jesus is with his disciples on the Sabbath day, and his disciples are hungry, so they start picking and eating the grain. And because it was the Sabbath, the Pharisees were upset with what they saw happening. They were like, why are you letting your disciples do this? This is the Sabbath. Don't you know that they're not supposed to work on the Sabbath? Like, as if he wasn't the Lord over the Sabbath. But anyway, I digress. And Jesus mentions to them and reminds them of the story of David, when David and his men were returning from battle and they were hungry, and they went into the temple and they ate the bread that had been dedicated unto the Lord. Now, an important thing about that story is that God doesn't get upset with David for going and taking his bread and feeding it to his men, because God understood and knew that this nourishment was necessary in order for them to be revived, in order for their strength to be restored, in order for them to have the ability to complete all that God had for them. And it made me think of a few things. For one thing, we don't have temples like we used to, but we have churches. And sometimes when somebody comes into our church and our normal everyday church activities get disrupted, there can be a tendency for some to get upset over this. Why is this person now interrupting the way that the flow of today is supposed to go? And I thought back to a time in my own church where we had a homeless couple come into the church. And we didn't have much bagels or anything left, but I began packing up and putting the bagels aside to give to this couple that was homeless. And I remember someone stopped me and said, "Why are you giving it to them?" And I said, "Because they need it." I didn't hesitate. It wasn't even a thought in my mind to think, well, this is our bagels for our people, and these are not our people. And I think that there sometimes could be a tendency when we have our doors open to different types of people in the community, and for them to come in, for us to feel protective over our way that we do things, or the stuff that we have to give to others. And in these examples that we see in David and in this story with Jesus, we see that sometimes it is more important to meet the need of the person than it is to keep the status quo or to keep the current rules that are set in place, right? Jesus himself said that the Sabbath was made for man and not man for the Sabbath, that there is a necessity for rest. There is a reason why God created the Sabbath for us. But more importantly than obeying a time of rest or obeying rules that have been put in is meeting the need of the people that are coming to God. It's meeting the heart, the restoration, the nourishment that somebody needs. And when we allow ourselves to view the resources we have as a tool to meet those needs that someone has, we begin to open up opportunities to be able to receive people the way that Jesus would have received them. It can be so easy to think about just hoarding resources, especially in this time and age where things are getting more and more expensive. It can be easy and tempting to say, this is ours, we don't have enough to share. But if God can share his bread, right? Think about it. Again, David went into the temple and took the bread from God's table. If God is willing to give that which was dedicated to him onto the people that need it, how much more so should we as his people give to the people that need it, that are around us in our community and coming into our church doors? I think again of Jesus talking in the scriptures and talking about how if your neighbor needs your coat, give him not just your outer jacket, but give him the inner cloak as well. If he asks you to walk a mile, go too. There is this desire for us to just keep everything to ourselves, but God tells us to give of ourselves, to give up those things that we have around us. So in this holiday season, as much as we receive, let us also be open to give. Anyway, God bless you guys, and I'll talk to you soon.